Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the Village of Saxtons River Trustees Meeting.
This is Amy Howlett calling the Village of Saxtons River meeting to order at 7:05 due to technical difficulties. There is another meeting going on in the building that may be part of the problem. And typically when we've done remote, it's better if we do it from home. So we may have to continue. Sorry for you, Sam, but maybe when it gets time to speak, we can figure something out. So are later that's things that have come up that you want to make sure we address tonight? Anybody? Ellen? Okay. Public comment. Any comments from the public? All right. Treasurer update, including fire feasibility study payment. And Anessa, you're here. Do you want to speak?
Yes, hi.
I know we're not going to, so let me interrupt before you begin. Anessa and I have talked about the fire feasibility payment, and I just got her the information she needs to analyze the accounts and what would be a good source. So that sounds like a discussion for the meeting on the 16th. It's too soon to have it tonight.
Right.
And I want to own up, that's my problem for not getting the information to her more promptly.
Yeah.
Okay, Anessa, you have the floor.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Amy. It won't be difficult because from Quicken, I kind of know, when the dates are, when it happened. So I'll just go into actual month bank account and see what was the bank number, and we'll identify that way. So it won't take long. It will be okay. Just want to update everybody that I had a conversation with our bank representative, TD Bank, regarding our consolidation of the accounts. He gave us, good recommendations. We need to come up with, I will come up with a letter of instructions on a letterhead and approved by the trustees, outlining how we want to consolidate accounts, which ones would be closed, which one will be continue to be open. So I'll work on it myself and then present maybe to Amy and then to the trustees what's the appropriate steps. Yeah, okay. I'm waiting on Ron Smith.
I have
go ahead.
I have letterhead and a printer.
Oh, okay.
So we're all agreed to take the responsibility for the final treatment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Waiting on Ron Smith, our accountant representative. I sent him our backups of a Quicken that he can come up with, some nice outlined chart of accounts that I can start working with our current QuickBooks and sort of assign all the expenses and all the activities properly. So it all kind of ties up together with the bank changes and Ron's input. So waiting on that. Amy, as we mentioned, whatever auditors need, our auditors, Peter and his team, just let me know when. My guess it's end of October, December, November. They can take the computer, whatever they need. That's fine. All the accounts reconciled for the prior year anyway. So
this is great news. I think the auditors will be very happy to hear this. Last year they said November. They weren't more specific than that, right. But I'll pass this word on to them.
Yep. Sewer fees invoices went out. We already got some response, some payments. Thank you, Alan, for checking our mailbox. Right now, I had the tie up for the property taxes payments, but some just arrived. So I don't have a total what is outstanding still as of this moment. Last time I had a little over 5,000, so it's not bad. I met up with Dave Moore about the delinquent accounts, so that's in the process too, in progress. We'll work it out. That's about it. I don't have anything else. Any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Carl, Matt, Ellen?
I'll just comment that I've had a couple of questions about the sewer fees that I've answered about how we were calculating, or why am I being charged for two when I should only be charged for one? And
Typical.
yeah,
So these were questions that we anticipated?
Yep. they were questions that we anticipated.
Okay,
And so I had a question from Bill Buckner about how we figured the sewer fee for the restaurant now that the restaurant's open.
Mhm.
Not complaining about it, he just wanted to know how much to tenants and how much to pay himself.
okay,
And one person that we had billed for two that shouldn't have been. I'm not sure how that happened, but they contacted the listers and got their property relisted for a single
great,
family. So
great. I remember that was your point, Matt, and
Yeah,
I,
but it doesn't go through the listers, they have to do a change of use.
but they do that through the listers.
Well,
Yeah.
very good.
So, because I inquired about that when I was just saying things up, and of course said, "Oh no, that all goes to the listers."
So do we get a notification of that, so we know?
Probably not unless I ask for it.
Be good to,
I'll talk to them about that.
yeah, I think that it's just a follow-up to, I mean, people can say, oh yeah, we called the care of her.
Well, we state in our
Well,
letter to them, Carl, that
What we can get is,
we give them 6 months window, so we technically have to follow up in 6 months with the lister.
At least something from the lister saying, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, an email to you saying, yes, that has been changed from 2 to 1.
so what I will have them do is email me the same list that they gave me for saying those this time, and that'll give the classification for every property. So not just the ones that we think might have been changed, but any others that may have been that we didn't know about.
Good.
So, I mean, we could ask them to keep track and send us a list, but my feeling is that things will slip through the cracks, and if we just ask for their printout of what their current record is.
corrected, right?
Just look at it and see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Inessa, do you want to talk about mortgage payments that were doubled up? You and I discussed this.
Yes.
It would be helpful for the rest of the board to know, I think.
So I presented a list of, I believe, 5, now I can't remember, of those who paid on their themselves, residents, and mortgage company paid on their behalf. And I wasn't sure if it's okay to list their names, so just heads up. I don't know.
No, don't bother. Just,
Yeah.
no, I think it's much appropriate just to tell us numbers. Ellen, you have information?
Inez, I have an entry on the warrant, and they're just identified by amount that they're getting reimbursed for, and I identified it just as 5 Saxtons River property owners.
Great.
Okay. All right. So I will go ahead and wait from you guys approval and go ahead and cut checks, right?
Great. So does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Yes. This is the case where the mortgage, the agreement between the owner and the mortgage holder is that the mortgage holder pays. But sometimes the owner forgets, or somehow
Right.
there's a duplicate payment. So in
Right.
essence, tracking that and issuing refunds.
Right. And I can't tell about the last year. That's a lot of work. I have to
I
have
think
to
you
spend
need
some
to
time.
focus on what's happening now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's a property that the mortgage was paying the taxes or the sewer rates?
Taxes.
Taxes, property taxes.
I'm sorry if I said
And
sewer
then-
fees.
And then the homeowner did.
Payers and issuing a refund. Okay, anything else, Anessa?
I think that's it. That's
Keep up the
about it.
good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
I will get off, all right? The meeting.
Anybody else for Anessa?
No.
Okay, we're all set. Thank you, Anessa.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Um,
I think I'm a host. If I will turn off, everything will turn off. Am I a host? I got
you
that
shouldn't be a host.
assign.
You shouldn't be a host.
Nope, now she's gone.
We're still here. I think we're fine. So I would suggest that we move to the update on solar with Green Mountain Solar, since we have Sam and we have Kristen, and the other two things, the ARPA projects may take a little while. Is that all right with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with you, Kristen. And Sam, we'll make sure we give you plenty of time to speak as well.
Sure, thank you.
Sam, thank you very much for being here, and I have very limited understanding of how net metering works, and I was just tasked with looking at a contract that had already been gone through attorney review by somebody and compared it to our contract. And I think, has everyone had a chance to look at what I?
Yeah.
Okay. And really the contracts were really mostly identical in substance and what's on this very short 1.5 differences, some of them not probably significant, some of them more so, and some leading to questions. Did Sam have a chance to look at this?
I think I sent you both of those documents, Sam.
Yes, you did. And I'm just in terms of efficiency of time, I can respond to each one of Christie's comments and questions and requests for clarification and things. Or she can make her presentation and then I can respond. It's however you want to proceed. I do have a point by point response to Christie's comments. However you want to do it.
We want to put you on the focus on you. That's fine with Kristen. She's giving me the go-ahead signal here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So first off, Kristen, you get 5 brownie points for going through this net metering agreement. Not only one net metering agreement, but comparing it to another net metering agreement, which is a curse I wouldn't put on anyone. This is sort of thick, you know, it's legal, blah, blah. A lot of it is kind of boilerplate, or it's just like, what are they trying to say here? And it's because these things have been, you know, written by lawyers and things. So thank you for doing that comparison. And that was a bunch of work. So I'm happy to just sort of refer to her comments, which I have in front of me. And I'm just going to go through them. Christy, you are correct that in your contract, the term estimated 1-year output isn't there. We found that was just no longer a useful thing to have. Section 4 saying we will notify the village of Saxtons River of the service commencement date. We removed that, and this is kind of full confessions, because we didn't always do that. And so would end up with the bank saying, oh, your net metering agreement is invalid because you don't have proof of notifying the customer within 10 business days. And then the whole thing would just become a whole crazy thing of renegotiating net metering agreements because the banks and the investors were all worried that you guys no longer wanted to be customers, and the whole thing was, so we removed that because it was problematic. But I assure you, we will notify the village of Saxtons River within 10 business days of service commencement date, which in other words is just the date that we plug the array into the grid. And that's when the system starts generating these net metering credits. So you're correct that it's missing that section compared to Bellows Falls, but it's ultimately, if you'll give us the benefit of the doubt, it's a good thing. We will notify you. Section 5 was this whole question about allocation instructions. And that also links to later questions about, well, how the heck did people decide what the allocation ought to be? So there are sort of two different parts to this allocation business. Let me first refer to this section 5 that's here. What happened during COVID was a lot of our customers, you know, a laundromat all of a sudden shut down and there was nothing on its meter. There was no electricity usage. They never told us that the meters were shut down. Ski areas closed down certain operations and certain electricity meters. So a bunch of times during the whole COVID period, the customer did not inform us that they were no longer using electricity and incurring electricity expenditures. And we ended up, and the customer ended up with lots of unused net metering credits, which caused a whole big problem with the banks and with the investors and with the customers. And the result of that was now this section, which basically says if too many net metering credits are allocated to the wastewater treatment plant's electricity account with Green Mountain Power, if too many credits are allocated to them, that means they don't get used during a 12-month period, then those credits, it's sort of a strange technical term, but are stranded. The other term I use is they vaporize. Those net metering credits are lost. And so what's really important is to not over allocate net metering credits to any electricity account. And so let me jump to, well, how do we do the allocation then? So
Sam, I'm going to hold you up. Sam,
Yep.
I'm just going to hold you up for a minute.
Yep.
Kristen has a question.
Yes.
And Sam, I apologize if my questions are idiotic, but I really have zero knowledge of what I was reading. But does that mean in a worst case scenario, we're still paying? So if we were a laundromat and we shut down during credits that were allocated to us, is that what that means?
Yep. You are responsible for that. Now, in the case of but what we're really talking about is the wastewater treatment plant, right? The wastewater treatment plant is very unlikely to be shut down. And that's the only account to which we're allocating these net metering credits.
Okay.
So what we did was, working with Anessa and Green Mountain Power, we analyzed the wastewater treatment plant's electricity expenditures over the past 3 years. And over the past 3 years, they averaged almost $18,000. But the lowest usage or expenditure year was actually last year, and it was $16,008 instead of the $17,740. So to be conservative in the allocation of net metering credits, we took that $16,008 and said that, well, we're confident that the Village of Saxtons River will meet that $16,000 electricity expenditure sort of threshold in years to come. But to be doubly sure, we then take 85% of that amount. So we introduce a 15% buffer, if you will. So the village's expenditures could go down another 15% from that lowest spending of $16,000. And that's what we're trying to offset. So if I take 85% of that $16,000, that gets me to $13,607. And that's what we try to offset with the net metering credits that the village buys and gets applied to the wastewater treatment plant account. So we try to basically zero out the $13,607. And then we take that $13,607, divide that by the value of a net metering credit, right? This is just financial units. So the value of a net metering credit that gets produced by the solar array in Saxtons River, whenever it gets built and installed, is, and it's kind of crazy, it's this detailed, but this is the Public Utility Commission, is 12.141 cents per credit. And that's in your Exhibit B of the net metering agreement. That says that right now, the value of a net metering credit is 12.141 cents. The Village of Saxtons River buys from us that net metering credit worth 12.141 cents. They buy that from us at a 10% discount. And that's what Amy and I were going back and forth with, is the discount rate 10% or 7% or whatever. So that you would actually be paying us, let me get my math here straight, 10.9269 cents per net metering credit, because it's 90% of the 12.141. So if you take 12.141, apply a 10% discount to that, or take 90% of that 12.141, you end up at 10.9269 cents. That's what you guys pay us. So you pay, it's like you pay 90 cents for something that's worth $1, right? And the key is not to pay 90 cents for something that's worth $1 too many times, so that if you pay for it, if you buy too many credits and you can't use them, then those things can be, those net metering credits can be stranded, and that's at your loss. The other part of that Section 5 says that we can, in order to avoid, right, it's that Section 5.4, right, in order to avoid future misalignment and economic loss, we can reduce the allocation of credits to the wastewater treatment plant so that the situation doesn't happen. So we have someone who is monitoring every single one of our arrays and monitoring how much the array is producing and how much the customers are using. And if over time it looks like the village is getting too many credits, creating a risk of economic loss of buying net metering credits that you don't actually need for the wastewater treatment plant, then we can reduce your allocation so that you don't overbuy. Or in a pinch, we could add the fire department account. Even though it's a small account, it could absorb a little bit of money. So I'm trying to kind of answer two things at once, but that's kind of the math of how the allocation works. We start with your lowest recent annual expenditure on the wastewater treatment plant, which in this case was last year, about $16,000. Take 85% of that to create that 15% buffer. And then that's the number we use to determine how many credits the village needs to basically zero out that 85%, which and then we look at what the array's estimated annual production is, and we compare that number to the estimated, and that's why you end up with 11% allocation in exhibit. I think that's exhibit C. It says I've got it in front of me here. Approximate allocation in exhibit C is 11% of the array's production. That's the number that we have to give to Green Mountain Power. Is every month what Green Mountain Power does is they look at all the net metering credits that have been generated by the array that month, that billing cycle, and they say, okay, I'm going to take 11% of those net metering credits generated by the array in Saxtons River, and I'm going to allocate those credits to the wastewater treatment plant. And I'm going to take the other 89% and allocate it to other customers. And so that's how we got to that 11% allocation. But this is confusing. It's not like intuitive.
Got the gist of it. Any questions? An opportunity for any questions here. Carl, do you want to have any of that reiterated?
No, I'm just curious. Suppose we underbuy.
Well, if you underbuy, you undersave, right? There's no damage to underbuying. Basically, so long as you don't overbuy, every net metering credit you do buy is a savings by definition, because you buy something worth $1 and you pay 90 cents for it. So long as you don't buy too many credits, you're always saving. Now, the village might say, and some people have tried this, to say, well, we want to save as much as we possibly can. We don't like this 15% buffer. We want to save as much money as we possibly can, and so don't apply this buffer to us. And our experience has been that that doesn't work well, and customers end up, then their electricity expenditures go down for some reason, and they're like, oh, we signed up to buy too many credits and reduce our allocation. And that's very difficult it's very hard. It gets harder to reduce the allocation over time, because we have to then remarket those credits to someone else. And that's why we try to actively manage it. I don't know if I answered Carl's question.
No. One more.
So you're 3 year lowest use for 3 years. Let's
I can't hear you, Carl. You're breaking up. I'm sorry.
Actual use is more. Yeah. So let's say that $16,000 figure for annual usage is anomalously low because something happened in plant operation. And that as we go forward, our usage is going to be closer to the 18,000, a higher value. How can that be adjusted? In other words, can we, if we find that we are dramatically underbuying, can we, in the course of the contract, alter that?
That's a discussion. I can't guarantee that that can be altered. It depends on who the other customers are on this array and whether they're getting all the net metering credits they need and want. So the unsatisfactory or unsatisfying answer is sometimes you can increase your net metering credits, but not always. What we're trying to do is minimize the chance that you would overbuy. So it's possible that you can underbuy. And if that is happening, and if, say, over the next 3 or 4 years, just the scenario that you paint, that the wastewater treatment plant expenditures go to $18,000 a year instead of $16,000, then you would send an email to us and say, hey, can we get some more net metering credits to this account? And sometimes we can accommodate that, and sometimes we can't.
Carl,
Okay.
follow up again?
Nope, that answers
Okay,
my
we've
question.
turned our video off, which is awkward.
Okay.
on the
I'll just-
voice.
Okay. I'll jump to the next sets of comments by Kristen and Amy. You probably, well, I'll just jump to those comments. So section 7B, the recommendation is that the village get 30 days for payments to be made before a late fee is charged, as opposed to the 15 days, which is in the net metering agreement right now, and that's fine. We accept.
Great.
Section
No, perfect.
Section 14, Kristen's observation is correct. It's a slightly different structure of the net metering agreement. It's just how our financial partners have asked that our net metering agreement be set up. But if so long as our array is operating, we need someone to be buying the net metering credits, or we don't generate any revenue. So I don't think there'll be any issue with extending the net metering agreement 25 years from now if everyone wants to do that.
Okay, everybody all right with that?
Mhm.
Okay,
Next.
are we on to section 5 now? Oh, no.
Section 15, we're happy to include the modifying language that we will not unreasonably withheld our consent. And so basically we can incorporate this suggestion on your part.
Okay.
And then Exhibit B, the reason why your net metering agreement does not have annual audit and reconciliation is because back in 2017 or whatever, when the Bellows Falls contract was done, we worked on a monthly average billing, and our customer, whether it was the town or the school or the ski area, they paid an equal amount over all 12 months. And then at the end of 12 months, we would do an audit. And if they had gotten more net metering credits than they paid for, we would send out an invoice. And if they didn't get enough net metering credits, we would send a payment of reimbursement, and that got too cumbersome. So what we do now is just simple monthly billing based on the monthly allocation of net metering credit. So Exhibit B, just as Kristen noted, does not have this reimbursement language because there is no annual audit and reconciliation. You're simply billed every month for the net metering credits that you actually receive. So there's no need for that annual process.
Okay, Kristen?
Yep, helpful. And I just want to clarify that these were just observations, all of my
Yep.
observations.
Yep. But I think it's been helpful to me at least. I won't speak for anyone else.
And then, Kristen, you asked what the service price is in Exhibit B. So the service price, as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, is 90% of the value of the net metering credit. So it's 90% of that 12.141 cents. The value of that net metering credit, excuse me, is determined on a biannual basis by the Public Utility Commission. So that is the value of the net metering credit that will be in place probably until August of next year. At that time, the Public Utility Commission will have done some new analysis and declare that the net metering credit value is some other price, some other value rather. Whatever that value is, and typically because electricity rates go up, that value is likely to go up. The village would pay 90% of that value of the net metering credit. So that's really the key thing, that you lock in your savings. No matter what the value of a net metering credit is, you never pay more than 90% for its value. So you never pay more than 90 cents for something that's worth $1. And Amy, I don't know if you have access to your email, but I emailed you a revised net metering agreement that specifies this service price in Exhibit B at 10.9269 cents as of October 1, 2023. It also revises that section 15 that I said we're happy to incorporate, and it revises section 7B, giving the 30 days for payments. So in your email, you'll see this revised net metering agreement with those changes in red.
Okay,
Section 5. That what we're on?
I think we've worked through all of the comments.
We didn't, and I don't understand it, but this template, Sam, I found online this template that also mirrors the agreement you have, and I don't really understand it. And even if you can just explain it, or you don't have to if everyone thinks this is taking too much time, but that section C that talks about unused credits and excess output credit and a refund. It seemed beneficial. I didn't understand it. It seems beneficial to a customer. So that was my other, it's not a comparison because the Bellows Falls contract does not have it.
Right.
But it's
And why do we have it?
and we don't have it either. It was in this template of, I think I found it on the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, a template of, and the template is similar to these contracts. Did you see that as well?
Yep. So I looked at that, and you know, I apologize if this is just, I don't mean to be what the right adjective is here, but that template, as you said, was right. The Vermont League of Cities and Towns said, okay, let's have a template that's good for the League of Cities and Towns. Basically, that section says, well, if there are too many credits, then we, the system owner, gets to just credit those net metering credits to the customer, even though they actually expire, meaning that we would lose all of that. And there's a reason why solar companies didn't use this particular clause, is because it is disadvantageous to the owner of the array.
That seems clear.
That seems,
So it's basically, it's a different
I'm not
approach
sure
saying,
I
well,
see your reaction.
if the net metering credits expire, well, that's our problem. And that's not okay with us. That's why we want you to be clear as to how the allocation is done and why we want to be sure you don't have unused credits, and why we want to be sure that if it looks like you are, quote, underspending at the wastewater treatment plant, we can reduce your allocation so you don't have unused credits, and we'll do active monitoring and sort of management of this. But we don't want to be stuck with the unused credits and not getting paid for them.
Yep, makes sense. All right, once around the table, Ellen, any questions for Sam?
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty comprehensive with Kristen's review and then also Sam's answers.
Okay, Carl,
I think I'm okay.
Matt,
All set.
Kristen?
all set.
Okay, Sam, I did find the email from you, saying that you would be here tonight, but I don't at this point have the email with the corrected contract with changes in red. Often Vermontel, screws that up and it takes a little longer, and in the morning I find it caught in the filter and I have to free it. So I'm assuming that's what's happened. You are
Okay.
also welcome to resend it to my personal email, which is amy.howlett.
I can copy and paste it.
Amy.howlett at Gmail or at something? I couldn't hear you.
At Gmail, at
Okay.
Gmail. Yeah, we definitely have to rethink this remote held at Main Street Arts, because it's very annoying having your conversation cut off like this. I think we're all set though. So we're ready to sign the net metering agreement. That I think is my signature for the board. And then we're in gear. Is that correct?
So I've just resent that to your Gmail, Amy. And you know, your timing is your timing, and I certainly don't want to hold you up. You can vote now, you can vote in 2 weeks, you can, you know, take the time to look at the red line revisions and make sure that they reflect the changes that we've just verbally discussed. The reality is that, you know, we don't have the certificate of public good for this project yet. It is right now an uncontested certificate of public good application. No one has objected to it. All state agencies are in favor of it, but it is sitting at the Public Utility Commission, and when the Public Utility Commission issues the certificate of public good is anybody's guess. Could be in 2 weeks, it could be in 6 months, because that's how the Public Utility Commission works.
And then the project gets built.
And then once we have the certificate of public good, then we can go to a bank and say, we have the permit, hooray. Because the bank will not give us a penny until we have that permit. And then we can order the equipment, because we can't order the equipment until we have the money. So this is the commencement of operations and the actual production of net metering credits against the wastewater treatment plant. If I was a betting person, I would guess May of next year.
Oh, sounds good. Well, if you need anything from us, a letter saying that we are very excited to have a local solar array that will be providing useful credits for our wastewater treatment plant, let me know.
Thank you.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed that May 2024 rolls around quickly and
Yeah, obviously our hope is to get this done as quickly as we can. But there are timings that we don't control and that are in the hands of the Public Utility Commission. But we will obviously, it's in our interest to get this array functioning and generating revenue as quickly as possible, because while it's not built and generating net metering credits, we're not making any money.
right.
So we only make money when you save money.
That sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Very
Yep.
appreciate it.
All right, my pleasure. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back to our regular scheduled agenda. So I think we're on number 5, revisiting the ARPA projects. Ellen, we missed your input at the last meeting, and we made the decision to postpone discussion of fire equipment and the grass, that's the Greater Rockingham Area Services boiler, to tonight. We still have unspent ARPA funds. I think you're familiar with the discussion that we've had previously. Carl's minutes always do a good job of showing it. Where would you all like to begin? Actually, we have a motion that we were going to, that was tabled, that was postponed to this meeting. Is that correct, Carl? I don't suppose you brought a copy of the minutes with you.
Well,
You do.
they're on the computer.
And I probably have them right here also.
So are we discussing this now? We're on this, right?
Yeah, we're on this.
Okay.
I can get out that motion while Carl's looking as well.
Right, so. Yeah, we have some money left. Now the amount that we were paying for the feasibility study of the 3 fire departments in the town of Rockingham was $5,000. Where we were going to get that money from was out of some account. Now it's $10,000.
Correct.
And that's coming from somewhere. And then your motion was for $10,000 out of the ARPA money, as I recall. So there's $20,000 going out of the village. And
We lost you guys again.
taxpayers' dollars on a feasibility study and wanting to give away money that we can use in Saxon River. So I think that needs to be looked at. The building in Bellows Falls and what it houses there and does for the community is very great, and I would assume a lot of people in Saxon River use the facilities there. But I think that you just need to realize that we're sending a lot of money.
So Ellen is asking, I'm sorry, I'll try and repeat it. Ellen didn't hear. Matt makes the point that the fire feasibility study so far is an estimated $10,000. I have the minutes here.
Okay.
He points out that the motion that we discussed September 11th was for $10,000 from the ARPA funds to be put towards the boiler at Greater Rockingham Area Services. He feels, and correct me, Carl, correct me, Matt, if I'm overstating. He feels that we are sending this money away from Saxtons River, and the money should be spent in Saxtons River. Those two sums, the $10,000 for the fire feasibility study and the $10,000 for Greater Rockingham Area Services. You see those funds as not being spent in Saxtons River.
I'm seeing that we in Saxon River are spending a lot of money. That's, yeah, somewhat out of Saxon River. Again, I know that we benefit from the programs down in Bellas Falls. I'm not opposed to spending some money down there, but my problem is, again, the 5,000 for the feasibility study was okay. Then it went to 10, and then so that's coming out of our funds.
That's been taken, yes.
Right.
And it's
So that's
possible
coming out.
we could use ARPA funds, but
ARPA funds for that, or it's coming out of that is going out of Saxon.
You guys, I'm sorry, you're
100%.
cutting out again.
That's all.
okay, we'll try and slow down and speak one at a time. I'm not sure that will help, Ellen, but let's hope. So I did receive one call from a resident of Saxtons River who said they very much supported the idea of sending $10,000 to Greater Rockingham Area Services, particularly because of the use of urgent care by so many people who live in Saxtons River. As somebody who goes there routinely when I find a tick or, you know, my arm is killing me or I think I'm having a heart attack. I really, I mean, we have no medical services in Saxtons River except for emergency medical services, which are great. We've put $51,000 towards our emergency medical services. And I would not be upset to see some of our ARPA funds go towards the fire feasibility study, because I think is vital to our continued growth as a community. And I mean, the feasibility study is a way to look at that. But we're not yet at the point of deciding where that comes from. So I'm interested in considering the $10,000 for the boiler, which means that Greater Rockingham Area Services can continue to thrive. They see this as vital for their continued existence. And it also seems to me that one of the early intentions of the ARPA funding was to address the problems that COVID created. And the fact that there's an addiction treatment center in that facility comes home to me. Again, I think it would be very hard for the town, for the village of Saxtons River to support such a facility locally for a village of 500, but we have the ability, because of its federal funding, to put it towards something that has an impact on people who live in this village. So those are my reasons, but this is not about me. It's about a discussion. Carl, Matt, why do I keep pointing to you and saying, Carl, do you have other points that you want to make before we switch the focus to the rest of the people, to other people on the board?
Sure. I'll just, yeah, the same things as far as the amount of monies that we as a small village of Saxon River are proposing to send elsewhere. Town of Rockingham did not spend any of their ARPA money to this facility, correct? Bellas Falls did a big chunk. Town of Rockingham did not, because they're spending their monies in the town of Rockingham doing other projects. One of them is I believe, a new fire truck. But I could be wrong about that.
I don't know. I
Right,
have
so-
not seen a list of.
So
what
I'm
they
just,
spent their funds on.
and we have, equipment needs at the fire station here that, we can't get grants for. They need equipment. We have the ability with this money to get the fire and rescue where it should be. I can support sending some money to this program. 10,000, I think is too much for me, but that's just me.
Okay, so, floor is open for other people. Carlos raising his hand.
Yeah, so when I look at the fire feasibility study, to take that first, it seems to me that this is, the importance of this is it's something we need to do if we're going to get a new station. And so we've been setting money aside supposedly, and presumably it's in one of our accounts, although we don't know where yet. Presumably we have $10,000 set aside towards development of a new station that this would be an appropriate use for. Not sure that it needs to come from ARPA funds, although you're right, if we spend 10,000, we spent 10,000. It's coming out of one of our pockets somewhere. I think that it's that the Greater Rockingham Area Services is something that's important to the village. I think it's something we should find a way to support. I think that 10,000 is a lot. I would suggest that maybe we might want to look at, if we're going to use ARPA funds for this, some percentage of what's left after we've met the funds that we have committed already. In other words, after we've paid off everything to do with the new vehicle, and that's in our hands and those bills are paid, then we take some percent of what's left, not necessarily 10,000, but and use that towards GRAS. I'm a little bit nervous about earmarking a set amount if we're still not really sure what we're going to have.
So you were also finding 10,000 is too big a figure, but you're thinking that you'd like to link it to what is left near the end of the process. I'll tell you my nervousness. This is October. We have November and December to make up our minds. So it's not a lot of time, but we do have time.
Well,
So we can continue. And the, Greater Rock is going to have this need in next year as well. So it's not like we're taking another month to talk about it. It would be nice if there were new understanding coming out of the discussion, or, a new figure. Ellen and Kristen, you're the two that I haven't heard from. Ellen, do you have some feelings on this? We can
I
see
do.
you, by the way, even though you can't see us.
I do, and I did talk to Kristen a little bit about this. I was bouncing some ideas off of her. I feel very strongly that we should contribute money to the fire feasibility study. We have this fire department that needs the attention. As far as grass, Greater Rockingham Area Services, I think we should give a smaller amount. 10,000 is a lot, but at the same time, I understand its value. And, the reason why I was holding back on that, maybe 5,000 for Greater Rockingham Area Services. It's really important to keep that. We're a suburb of Bellows Falls, we're a suburb of Rockingham, and we use that facility. The other thing that I'm going to say, which I haven't introduced yet, because I've been thinking a lot about the Saxtons River Rec area, and I didn't know if it's possible to use any ARPA funds towards that. And that's something that we have on our agenda, is to talk about Saxon River Rec area, not specifically using ARPA funds, but it's something maybe just if I could plant the seed in people's heads, because I'd like to see some opportunities given to the rec area.
Okay, so that money, with some notable exceptions, is now considered part of the kinds of funds that we have to spend as village trustees. Yeah. Tax dollars. Yeah, so we couldn't use it to pay off the bond on the wastewater treatment plant. And we can't invest it in something that's weird like pensions. I don't know. There are some absolute, no, you can't do that. But we could use it to buy equipment. We can use it for to give to Rockingham Area Services. We could use it, I guess we could use it to pay the oil bill at the fire station if we wanted. Those are all appropriate expenses that we could use it for. And the rec area is our property. It was given to us. Weirdly to me, it's not in the outline of the village, but we own that property and we make investments in it. You know, we pay for mower repair for it. I mean, you of all people know that because you review those bills every month. So yes, we could definitely do something there. Okay. And you mentioned the figure of $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Matt's raising his hand. And Kristen also.
I mean, eventually.
I just had one question, Brandy.
Yeah.
Any interest in amending your?
Not yet, not yet. Let's get through everybody.
I had a quick question first. If I'm remembering correctly, at the last meeting, there's a figure we have. Right? There's an amount of money we have.
Let's see if the excellent minutes show it.
I think it was in the $40,000 range, and then we were gonna start plucking tens here and there out of there. So
I don't think the minutes have a figure for what's left, because that would be too specific, and
yeah.
Well, we did talk about it.
we talked about it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not something I want.
50,000 that was going to buy.
Yeah, that's going for the truck. And
Well, never, I mean, I just was curious, but,
I can bring those figures next time. I came better prepared previously and I didn't bring them tonight.
this is.
I have
this
the
is-
figures from November of last year, but
So you have the figures from November?
of 2022, yeah. And Matt had forwarded it to all of us back in earlier in September.
Hold on a minute, Ellen. We've got two conversations
Sorry.
going on.
go ahead.
Do you want to wait and ask? Let's let Ellen finish first. Go ahead, Ellen.
It was just Matt's figures that he had sent to Art back in November of 2022. And we had about 145,000 in ARPA, 75,000 towards the new chassis, 35,000 to remount and upgrade body lights. Yeah, that's about it. It's on that sheet. So it's just a rough estimate.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is that we voted 75,000 for the completed rescue truck,
I'm just looking right now.
51,000, I think is the figure for the cab, the chassis cab, thank you. I'm learning so much in this job.
Yeah, it was, I believe it was 58,531 for the truck. The one that we gotten from Faith's for the F-350, is that right?
Yeah, you want to give me that figure again?
58,531.
Thank you. So that money is gone. We've cut the check for that. I haven't heard from Art Smith in a week or two. Last I heard, everything was up.
Both vehicles were.
Both vehicles were up, being put together, the amalgam.
Mhm.
So, and I think the 58,531 was just for the cab chassis. So you're right, we're assuming there will be another.
So there's another, I forget what was estimated that we approved,
It was about $35,000.
$36,000 to take the body off, upgrade everything that's needed. It's in that.
Around 36,000?
Then, right, if you add in the stuff we spent for upgrading ambulance service or the rescue. What we spend there, couple thousand.
4,500, I think.
$4,500 on that. And I think it was, I don't know, it was a couple of meetings ago, I had sent out the list of requests from Art Smith of, again, being on the fire equipment committee. There's no monies for
It does.
there aren't any grants available
No,
to
that's spent.
purchase the scuba equipment that's needed, that is somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 per unit. So, and I think he was requesting 6 of them. So it's all this money can be spent in one location, that's for sure. How we want to do it is,
That's what we're discussing.
right.
Yeah.
They need the scuba equipment, they need the upgrade. They, told you this before. The scuba, again, for anyone that doesn't know, it's the mask and the tank and all that. They have hand-me-downs from Bellis. And there aren't grants available, or Town Rocking doesn't, isn't getting them
Well,
to upgrade what is needed.
my understanding is of Saxtons River is that we are too economically viable. So we don't do well in grants. We're too small and we have too much money. I mean, we're not Greenwich, Connecticut, but we have too much money for Vermont.
Right.
If we go in as the town of Rockingham, then that's a different
Some
case.
things work, but it didn't work on this. None of them, they didn't get
Yep.
it Bellis Falls or Rockingham
Yep.
or Saxons.
Yep.
So it's still a need. And so I just put it out there as a need, and I understand the other one too.
Okay.
So I think it's not an easy decision. I definitely, if Matt, if you can think of it, not as sending money out of Saxtons River, but sending money still for the residents of Saxtons River. So I think it's still a positive. So I'm in favor of giving some money to Greater Rockingham. I don't know what the right number is. I want to be supportive. I went to the fire station for the first time last week. So nice volunteers. So I mean, I think they're equally compelling. But so I definitely am supportive of giving money to certain our community. And I don't have a good answer as, I would love to give them 10,000 and still have enough to get it, so it's definitely, I don't know if that was helpful.
That's
So, it's- so I have one last comment on it. I certainly support the grass program down there and would like to send some money. I'm just not comfortable with the amount that's in.
Okay, so Kristen, I made the original motion, which we're discussing today, and you were the original second. So what do you think? Should we go down to 7, or is that still too much?
I could support some.
Okay. I don't, I really would much rather deal with an amended motion than go back and forth. How do you feel about 7?
Well, I thought.
You
Maybe,
mentioned 5.
yeah, I thought that if we spent about 10% of what we had left, that would be a good proportion, and that would come to about 5,000.
But that's not 10%. I mean, I have to say, I think grass is a vital service. It's, it's,
So
So
the
that's
fire
what, that's
department,
what it's.
It's really 57,000, so you can round up to 6.
is 57.
Well,
what are you subtracting?
Okay, I'm subtracting,
The ESO software,
2.5,
yeah,
2,500 for that, and 94,000 for the truck.
yep.
It comes to 96,500, and I get that as taking that from 148,000, I get 51,500.
94,000 is what we, oh yeah,
96 total.
Look in the chat.
94 for the truck,
94.5 is.
$94,500 then.
So 97,000 from 145,000.
And did you guys, we had also committed 2,500 roughly to the ESO reporting software.
We have that.
We have that.
Okay,
So that comes to 45,000 left.
48,000.
40. Sorry,
145 minus.
Sorry,
97.
I can't read my writing. That's right, that's an 8 out of 5. 48,000 left.
Still have a comment,
Comment from Matt.
proposal. I could support $5,000. And to go along with that, at least we have committed, we can send it. And then let's work through the rest of this stuff. And if there's money at the tail end of it, send some more.
Okay, that's generous. How do you feel about that?
I think that's a good thought.
So Ellen, we're talking about an amended motion. It's not formally amended, but I'm going to revise my motion to be $5,000 for grass. And Kristen is comfortable enough with that number to second it. How do you feel about that?
I feel good with that.
All right, we have a new motion on the table tonight, based on an old motion to spend $5,000 of our remaining ARPA funds, to send $5,000 of our remaining ARPA funds to the Greater Rock Area Services Boiler Project. The motion was made by Amy Howland and seconded by Kristen Swartout. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, we'll ask you to Okay, I see Ellen's hand and we have 4 hands here. Okay, so it passes unanimously. Okay, that's number 5. Number 6 is the Saxtons River Recreation Area. So this began with an email to me from the soccer coach at Christine, soccer coach, whose name I think, please correct me if you know her, is Christine or Christina Aguiar, Aguiar. She wrote initially to the town of Rockingham to say, could the highway department mow the field at the rec? That she's a full-time nurse and is a volunteer soccer coach, and it was too much for her to deal with. I recommended, so the town of Rockingham forwarded the email with a polite response to her saying, it's actually owned by Saxtons River. I responded to her, I am sending your request to Sam Fletcher, but we're happy to talk about it at the next meeting. So when I finally caught up with Sam Fletcher, I found out that the situation is taken care of. It's just that it was a crazy summer and the meadow got out of control. Sam has a way, she has volunteers and she has equipment and she keeps that field mowed. So it's a non-issue as far as the initial request, but it seemed appropriate to talk about the Saxtons River Rec area tonight. I hope this isn't Ellen. Oh, good. So I just got a text message and I thought it might be Ellen saying she couldn't hear me. But no, it's not. Thank goodness. Okay, so Ellen, you said that you would like to talk about the rec area as well.
Yeah, and I was just looking for the email, the conversation I was having with Sam regarding what I asked her for a wish list. And I just want to say where I'm coming from for this. I was on the Saxtons River Rec Area board years ago. And at that time, I think we had maybe 4 or 5 volunteers doing it. Right now, it's just Sam. It's only her managing everything. People aren't using
phenomenal job too. Let's just get in there and say it.
Absolutely. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. And there just seems, you know, like having the fact that I live across the street from it, you just don't hear the activity that you used to. Like right now, the thing that I hear is soccer and it's wonderful. But people, the town couldn't afford, or not afford, we couldn't recruit lifeguards to want to work at the rec area. My true feeling is that people view the rec area as being decrepit and unkept. And I think it's time for us as a village to all get together and form a committee to help Sam to start putting necessary funds towards rehabilitating the rec area. You know, everybody knows about the geese at the rec and coming up with some kind of solution because it deters people from wanting to swim in the water there. And Sam had wanted to upgrade the playground that's there. I really, really would appreciate the opportunity to form like a subcommittee for the Saxtons River Rec area where we can get people collaborating on improvements for the rec area and committing to it and following through. And without any details, the ARPA money has been swimming around in my head. Could we use some of that for the rec area as well? So I'm putting a call out, forming a subcommittee for the rec area from the trustees, getting people to join.
So Ellen, I think your contact information is on our webpage. People want to reach out to you directly. Are you on Front Porch Forum? Do you use that?
Oh, no, I don't think
that's an email. I can put something on that. And there's also the Saxtons River Facebook page. it seems to me ideally, and I'm not sure Facebook is the right thing. Ideally, this is a project for young families, it seems to me. And, you know, some of if we count grandchildren, I guess you've got a young family, Matt.
No, I did 12 years there. We did a lot.
Yeah, and that's true, because Matt was on it as well. I mean, like, we've
Yeah.
really,
I was happy to see the geese had been moved on when I went to the service honoring my neighbor, Pearl Bonnet this summer. I mean, it was great. The place was clean. We could walk in the grass, you know, and a little bit later, I was there to work on the benches, and they were running, there was a Memorial Road race out of the rec area. I'm going to say that was 4 weeks ago. And again, it looked like it was being used, but you're right, it hasn't been used in the summer. So, and I think both last year and this year, it was a real lifeguard problem. So we could use
I just think that, and I don't, the word that comes to me is like a makeover and PR campaign to bring people back to the Saxtons River Rec area and make it a place where everybody wants to, because there's vandalism, but there's no cameras there. How do can we do something with the gates? Can we do something with the pavilion? Can we do something with the playground? Can we do some kind of something with the water itself to divert the geese?
Yeah. So I know Sam actively worked on the geese problem.
Yeah, she has, and I'm just saying because I see the geese all the time coming from the wreck. And so she's done a great job, but she, again, it's just one person and she works full time. She's got 2 kids. Let's help her out.
So do you want to come back with a proposal in November, early November?
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be great if you were able to recruit a couple of other families, at least, who demonstrated interest, and you might want to start with the school for that project. Again, everybody I know is too old for your purposes, Ellen, but I don't have the same roots in this town that you do. Although I will say, I personally, you know, as somebody living in a neighboring town, both my kids learned to swim at the rec, and they both played sports there. So
yeah, so did mine.
Definitely a community of a much wider resource than solely the village. So,
Quick question. Is there still soccer there?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the first November meeting, Ellen will come to us with a proposal, or at least some background information.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else with the Saxtons River Rec?
Nope.
Okay.
Major to report. I've been working with Margot Pia. Hopefully this week we will finish getting everything. The application is in, but the document upload is going to be with that. So.
Great. That's not nothing. The application.
That's a lot.
And what are the documents that you have to upload?
The required documents, which she said that can go in later, and she's gonna help me get them, like the 3 years of but like, and then uploading properly, just gonna help with, so.
That's great. Excellent. Okay. Fire station. Matt, anything?
Nope.
Is the fire committee still meeting?
Yes. Yeah, I didn't make it to the last meeting, but there wasn't much of anything on the agenda.
Okay. Okay. Tangential, but it is the time of year when we re-up with the League of Cities and Towns. So I'm working on how many fire department people are there, how many rescue squad people are there, how many of those people are actually the same people serving on the two committees. And so I've actually just begun reading those documents. That will happen in the next 2 weeks. Wastewater treatment plant. Anybody?
No,
Okay, I signed paperwork maybe 10 days ago. It's just the routine paperwork. Everything looked good. So nothing to report. 37 Main Street, I got nothing. It's been a busy month for me. I think we are up to the minutes of September 18th. I was not at that meeting, so I didn't offer corrections. I noticed it was a very brief meeting.
it was a brief meeting, and thanks to Ellen for the minutes.
Yes, and they were amazing. They came out. I didn't read them actually because they were there in a minute.
I decided to just type them all up that night and send them.
Okay, Matt has moved to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Carl has seconded. That's a motion of approval right there. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify with a hand.
Aye.
Ellen, do you have a hand?
I do.
Yes. Okay, it's unanimous.
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613, or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.